Oh, just Kate.
Yeah,
Why
Kate.
not Kate?
yeah.
Why not
Hey.
Caitlin? You're gonna get confused with Caitlin Clark or something? Huh?
Yeah, no, my mom just put Kate.
Kate,
Yeah. I wish it was like Caitlin.
that way she could scream at you, right?
Kate.
Oh, no.
And then she decided to do 2 T's, which is not normal. So whenever people read my name, they think it's like Katie or Kat or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that just makes my life harder too.
Oh, no. She was trying to make it unique for you.
Oh,
And then you're like, Mom, sometimes. It's
Yeah,
not always
sometimes I just need the basic.
Right. Well, today, welcome first. Glad that you all are here. Let me close this door. If you guys want to go ahead and lay down on your mats, we're going to start there. Just doing some check-ins with ourselves. Yeah, so if you want to ease your shoulders down away from your ears. Just checking in with your breath, noticing what it's doing in your body. Today we are going to be talking a little bit about perspective taking. Just first identifying what your perspective is in this moment, the moment that you're in. Slowing down that breath. Letting that breath come deep into your belly and then expand up into your lungs. Maybe even out into your sides a little bit. And when you're ready, if you want to, you can start to kind of roll your head to one side, getting a little bit of a stretch on one side of your neck. And then as you're laying there, roll your head to the other side, just getting a little bit of a stretch in your neck on the other side. And then coming back to center, we're going to take a deep inhale and raise your arms up overhead. Fingers to one wall, toes to the opposite wall. And sweeping those arms back down along your sides. I'm going to invite you to take your knees to your chest, rolling back and forth across that low back space. Continuing to breathe. And then coming back to center, go ahead and release those feet down to the mat. You're going to heel toe those soles of your feet together and allow your knees to drop down to the mat. If you'd like, you can take your hands to the outside of your thighs for support. Again, breathing deeply here. See if you can relax your pelvic bone, relax your belly, relax your hips and your inner thighs. And then go ahead and take those knees back together. We're going to heel toe those feet out as wide as the mat, dropping one knee down to center. Again, softening your belly. Feeling that stretch in through your hip flexor. Softening your low back space. And then switching sides. So taking that knee out and then dropping the other knee down. softening that low back space, softening your belly. Resting that hip flexor, allowing that to open. Feeling that stretch in through the top of your thigh. And taking that out, and then heel toeing those feet back together. We're gonna roll to one side and push ourselves up onto all fours. So making sure that your knees are underneath your hips and your wrists are underneath your shoulders. We're gonna start with some gentle cat-cows here. So when you're ready, you can drop your belly, allow the tailbone to come up, allow your head to come up as you inhale. And then as you exhale, tuck your tailbone, arch up through your shoulder blades, tucking your chin. And then just going at your own pace, depending on what your breath is doing. Just going back and forth between those two. When you've done 3 or 4, then go ahead and come back into a neutral spine position. We're gonna go ahead and bring our toes together, bring our knees as wide as the mat, and then sit back on top of our heels and stretch forward into our child's pose. Hi, welcome. Taking some deep breaths here. If you'd like, you can rest your forehead on the mat, and then you can just gently roll back and forth across your forehead, kind of giving your forehead a little bit of a massage on the mat there. If that's not comfortable for you, that's fine. Just leave your head still or take a different position with it. And coming back to center, we're going to go ahead and take our hands, place them underneath our shoulders, and then start to bring ourselves up. We're going to bring those knees back together a little bit, and then start to walk our hands in front, coming to all fours first, and then stepping that right foot forward between the 2 front hands. We're going to come into low lunge here this morning. Now again, if you need to find a little bit of movement here, or if you need to kind of rock from side to side, feel free to do that. Really sinking into that left hip flexor. Then we're gonna start to walk our hands back, straightening out that front leg, allowing those right toes to come up toward the ceiling for half split. Walking those hands back toward the front. Stretching once more to low lunge. And then just go ahead and oscillate between those two. So walking yourself back into half split. And walking yourself forward into low lunge. Again, going at your own pace. Inhaling on one, exhaling on the other. Paying attention to what your body is telling you. Then once you're done with those, meet me back in this low lunge. You're going to take both hands to the inside of that front foot and heel toe that front foot out to the side for lizard pose. You can either stay here, or if you like, you can start to work yourself down onto your elbows. I'm going to hold this for about 3 deep breaths. One more. And working yourself back up onto your palms. You're going to frame that front foot and bring it back to center. You're gonna step that right foot back so that way you come back to all fours. And we are once again going to start with cat-cows. So go ahead and when you're ready for your inhale, you're gonna drop your belly, allow the crown of the head to come up, allow the chest to open. And then on your exhale, reach up toward the ceiling with the back of those lungs. Again, oscillating between those two at your own pace. Following your breath. Doing about 3 or 4 of these. When you're ready, you can come into that neutral spine position once more. This time we're going to take our toes together, knees as wide as the mat, and then sit back across our heels, stretching forward once more, resting our head on the mat for child's pose. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, but it's almost like if you learn something new or you have a certain experience, you then all of a sudden start seeing that thing all around you. And I know that there's a term for that in psychology, but I don't remember what that term is right now. But it's kind of like if I'm hungry and I walk into a room, I'm going to notice all the food in the room. Or maybe if I have purchased a certain type of car, then all of a sudden as I'm driving on the highway, I see that type of car all around me. Our perspectives matter in how we perceive the world around us, and our experiences matter in how we look at the world around us and what our attention is drawn to. When you're ready, you're going to go ahead and take those hands back towards your body. Again, bringing those knees together, walking into all fours, and then this time stepping the left foot forward. And stretching forward into that low lunge, just kind of working yourself into it. Really sinking into that front foot. And when you're ready, of course, you can start to walk your hands back, shift your weight to that back knee, allow the front toes to come up as you come into half split. Just again, continuing with those big, deep breaths. And then when you're ready, walking those hands forward, planting that foot back on the mat, stretching into that low lunge. And then of course, going back and forth between those at your own pace, following your own breaths, inhaling on one. And then exhaling as you move into your second pose. Kind of waking up those legs. We're going to be using the legs a lot today. So we're just kind of prepping them. When you're ready, you're going to meet me in that low lunge with our left foot firmly planted on the mat. We're going to heel toe that foot out to the side, bringing both hands into the center. And either you can stay here, or if you'd like, you can start to work yourself down onto your elbows for lizard pose. Again, we're staying here for 3 deep breaths. So often in our perspectives of the world, we can identify so closely with our experiences that we can't imagine that anybody else would have a different experience or a different perspective of the world. When you're ready, you can start to work yourself up onto those palms, framing that front foot, then bring it back to center and stepping it back, coming back into all fours. We're gonna roll through a couple more cat-cows, so dropping the belly, inhaling when you're ready. Exhaling up into cat when you're ready. Just doing maybe 2 or 3 of those. And when you're ready, you can go ahead and meet me back in neutral pose here. We're gonna go ahead and step that left foot forward once more, coming back into that low lunge, this time tucking the toes. We're gonna lift the back leg, coming into a runner's lunge here. And then from here, you're gonna make sure that those feet are really firmly pressed into the mat. And then kind of hover those hands off of the mat, and then when you're ready, you can start to lift up, bring those arms up into crescent lunge. We're gonna open up to the side, turning that back foot, coming into warrior 2. Bending that front elbow, bring that front elbow to knee, reaching up overhead for extended side angle. From here, we're gonna take that left hand down to the mat or grab onto your ankle if you would like. And you're gonna straighten that front leg, reaching the right arm up toward the ceiling for triangle pose. Bring that right arm down to the mat. We're gonna walk both hands toward the long edge of the mat, turning both sets of toes toward that long edge of the mat. Coming down into wide open A. And walking our hands all the way to the right hand side, turning those right toes toward the short edge of the mat. We're gonna leave that right hand on the mat, and if you can, reach up toward the ceiling with that left arm. Then bending that front knee, the right knee that is, you're gonna take that right elbow to right knee and then reach up overhead for extended side ankle. Then lifting your upper body, we're gonna come up into warrior 2 on the other side. Then we're gonna sweep this back arm down and through, allowing the back heel to come up off of the mat. And then taking both arms up toward the ceiling for crescent lunge. And then taking both hands all the way down to the mat. We're coming down into runner's lunge. Allowing that back knee to come down to the mat, untuck the toes for our low lunge. Then we're gonna go ahead and step that right foot back, so that way we come back to all fours once more. We're gonna return to our cat cows. So go ahead and inhale as you drop your belly. Exhale as you arch up. Again, rolling through a couple of those at your own pace. Really making sure that the crown of the head comes up toward the ceiling, and then you tuck that chin to protect that neck as you arch your back up. Coming back to neutral. This time we're going to step that right foot forward. Coming once again into that low lunge. Tucking the back toes, straightening the back leg, coming into our runner's lunge here. Pressing your feet into the mat, hover your hands above the mat until you are ready to lift up and lift those arms into crescent lunge. Opening up to the side, taking both arms out, so back foot is parallel to the short edge of the mat there. Bending that front elbow, taking it to the front knee, reaching up overhead for extended side angle. Taking that right hand down to the mat or grabbing your ankle. Taking that left hand up toward the sky, straightening that front leg if you can. Again, only doing as much as you can. Then taking that left arm all the way down to the mat, walking those hands around to the long edge of the mat, turning both sets of toes toward the long edge of the mat for wide open A. Then walking those hands around to the left foot, taking the left toes toward the short edge of the mat. Leaving that left hand down on the mat, reaching up with the right hand. Continuing to breathe deeply here. Bend that front knee and go ahead and place that left elbow on the left knee. Reach up overhead, extend side angle. Then go ahead and lift your upper body, leave the legs as they are, coming into warrior two. And taking that back arm, sweeping it down and through, turning so that way your hips are square to the short edge of the mat and your back heel is up. Now lift into crescent lunge. Continuing to breathe. Go ahead and take those hands all the way down to the mat, bringing that front foot, coming to the runner's lunge. Allowing that back knee to come down, untuck the toes, coming into our low lunge. Then stepping that left foot back, that way knees are together. We're going to sit back on top of our ankles, stretching our arms forward for child's pose once more. If you need to, you can always bring your knees as wide as the mat and kind of allow your body to sink down between the two. So we should be feeling much warmer now. As we rest here, first about 10 deep breaths in this pose. I was thinking about my time at Anderson University. I got to take some classes in their Peace and Conflict Transformation program. And one of the classes that we took, we talked about conflict resolution and how in order to resolve a conflict, you had to first accurately identify your own position and then really work hard to understand the other person's position and their perspective. And then only once you would hold both of those things in your mind, could you start to see the commonalities and the points where you differed and try to figure out a way forward together. So when you're ready, after you've done about 8 to 10 really big deep breaths here, we're going to go ahead and press our palms into the mat, pulling ourselves up again onto all fours. Here, just for a moment, let's check in with our spine, that it is in a neutral position. Check in with our core, that our belly buttons are drawn in toward our spines. Check in with our necks, that they're not doing anything really funky or, overarching one way or the other. And then keeping that neutrality in our spine, we're gonna go ahead and step forward with that left foot once more. Coming back into that low lunge. This time we're gonna leave our legs here, and we're gonna lift our arms like we did in crescent. This time we're gonna leave that right arm forward, left arm back, twisting toward that front leg. Sweeping that back arm down and through, coming back into our crescent arms. Go ahead and frame that front foot once more. We're gonna start to shift our weight back to the back leg, coming to our half split once more. And then walking that weight back forward, coming back into that low lunge once more. I'm gonna step the left foot back. Locking our hands back towards our knees. We're gonna round ourselves up. Taking hands to low back space, we're gonna draw the elbows together, looking up, shifting hips forward, opening up the chest for a modified camel pose. And coming up out of that, sitting our hips back, we're gonna stretch back forward into that child's pose. Pressing our palms into the mat once more. We're gonna come into that all fours position. This time stepping the right foot forward. Returning back to our low lunge. Leaving our bodies there, or the bottom body there. We're gonna lift our arms up into crescent. From here, we're gonna take that left arm forward, right arm back as we turn toward that front leg. Sweeping that back arm down and through, lifting back up into crescent. And taking both hands back down toward the mat, framing that front foot. We're gonna shift our weight to that back knee, extending that right leg out long. Then shifting our weight all forward again. We're gonna step that right foot back, bringing those knees about a hip width apart, walking those hands back towards the knees as we slowly round ourselves up. Hands to low back space, open up the chest, shifting those hips forward if you would like, coming into camel pose. Taking some deep breaths here. When we're ready, we can go ahead and come up out of that, shifting our hips back once more, stretching our arms forward for child's pose. As always, again, if you want to take your knees a little bit wider, you're welcome to do that. When you're ready, you're going to take that right hand and you're going to take it underneath the left arm, coming back down. Really nice stretch along the back side of that right shoulder. Go ahead and slide that right arm out front and switch sides, taking the left arm underneath the right arm. Again, checking in with your breath. What is it doing right now? When you're ready, you can go ahead and take that left arm back forward and roll yourselves up once more onto all fours. We're gonna tuck our toes and lift our hips up, coming into our first downward facing dog of the day. Making sure that our ears are by our biceps, stretching out the backside of those legs. If you can, we're going to try to shift our weight to the right foot and take that left foot up toward the ceiling, bend at the knee, and then draw some big circles around in the air with that knee. Bringing that knee to chest, shifting our weight forward. We're going to go ahead and set that foot down between the two front hands. Or step forward, or if you stand up and then step forward, that's fine too. However you need to get there. So we're back in our runner's lunge here. Taking a nice deep breath. This time we're going to step that back foot in just a little bit. So that way we can put both feet flat on the floor and straighten both legs. Coming to pyramid pose here. And then if you would like, or if you're able, you're going to start to walk your hands forward a little bit at about 10 and 2 if you've had kind of a clock drawn around that front foot. You're going to bring that back foot up parallel to the floor. Leaving that left hand on the mat for support. See if you can start to bring that right hand up. You're going to open up your hips toward the long edge of the mat and then start to reach that right arm up toward the ceiling. And bring that right hand back down toward the mat. We're going to set that back leg down and then shift our weight back, coming into our pyramid pose once more. Then bending that front knee, we're going to step that right foot back and back into our runner's lunge. From here, you can either step back into downward facing dog, or you can take a vinyasa. So if you're taking the vinyasa, follow me. We're stepping the left foot back, coming into compose, lowering ourselves all the way down to the mat. Untucking the toes, lifting up into cobra or upward facing dog. Lowering all the way down, tucking the toes, and then exhaling as we push up into our plank pose once more. Shifting our hips back, and then returning to downward facing dog. Taking some deep breaths. Shifting your hips up toward the ceiling if you want a deeper stretch in this pose. And when you're ready, taking that weight to the left foot, drawing that right foot up toward the ceiling, bending at the knee, and then drawing some big circles. Drawing that knee into your chest. Go ahead and set that foot in between your two front hands, however you need to do that. Kind of working yourself into that runner's lunge. And from here, stepping that back foot in slightly, extending that right leg forward or straightening. extending it forward could be kind of a confusing cue. Taking some deep breaths here. When you're ready, you're gonna walk your hands forward, so that way you've got, again, if you were drawing a big clock around that front foot, your hands are gonna be at 10 and 2. And allow that back foot to come up off the mat, parallel to the floor. And then start to open your hips to the side. Leaving your right hand down on the mat. You're gonna draw that left hand up toward the ceiling if you can. Continuing to use your breath even through these moments. Drawing that hand back down to the mat. Go ahead and just set that back leg down. Shift your weight back. Coming back into our pyramid pose. And bending that front knee, stepping back with that left foot, and back into our runner's lunge. And then from here, either you can step back into downward facing dog, or you can take a vinyasa. Either way. From here, we're going to go ahead and bend our knees, untuck our toes, sit our hips back over our heels, and return to child's pose. Taking a few deep breaths here. I had something pulled up on my computer, but I didn't think to pull it up on my phone here. So let me see if I can find this real quick. So this is talking about perspective taking as the ability to understand a situation from another person's point of view. It involves considering the other person's thoughts, feelings, and experiences. It can help with building connections, resolving conflicts, and making better decisions. But in order to do perspective taking, often we have to kind of get outside of ourselves. Some of you may have heard the phrase, walk a mile in someone else's shoes. It's looking at their life from their experiences and their knowledge base. And it's often harder to do than what we realize. But I wonder if, as we move our bodies today, as we have kind of identified our own perspective in this moment, we could potentially see things from another person's point of view. It's the basis also for creating empathy, for connecting with a feeling that you have that is similar to someone else's feeling and what they're describing. When you're ready, we can go ahead and start to pull ourselves up onto all fours once more. We're taking our very last flow here for the day. So we're stepping our left foot forward. You're heel toeing that foot out to the edge of the mat like we did before, bringing both hands to the inside. And this time, I'm going to encourage you to kind of almost like tuck your left arm or left elbow underneath that left leg if you can. So you're just kind of deepening that stretch. And then from here, we're going to tuck those back toes, lift that back leg, and then we're going to step that back leg in, just like we did on our pyramid pose, and straighten both legs, but we're leaving our left arm or our left shoulder kind of underneath that left leg if you can. So your right hand is opposite your left foot. You're going to use that left hand, and you're going to reach back toward that back leg. Now, if you'd like a little bit more, you can start to shift your weight to that front foot, bringing that back leg up. And then you can bring that foot in, holding onto it. This is a modified soldier pose. If you want to do the full thing, you're going to take that knee up toward the ceiling as you extend that front leg. And then stepping that back, releasing that down, coming back into our runner's lunge with that left hand, left shoulder underneath that left leg. We're going to bring both palms to the inside of that foot. Then we're going to go ahead and heel toe that foot back to the center, framing that front foot. Once again, taking a vinyasa, or you can step back and come back into child's pose, either way. So if you'd like to take a vinyasa, follow me. Lifting up, inhaling, exhaling down, tucking the toes and inhaling, exhaling to push up, shifting those hips back as we come into downward facing dog. And then go ahead and release those knees down, untuck the toes, stretch forward into child's pose. So once more, pulling ourselves up onto all fours. Got our last set here. So we're stepping that right foot forward. We're going to heel toe that foot out to the side. Bring both hands to the inside of that front foot. And then again, if you can, you're going to kind of work that right arm underneath that right leg. Just deepening the stretch here. Taking a deep breath. Go ahead and tuck those back toes, straighten the back leg, and then go ahead and step that back leg in, just like we did on our triangle pose. Straightening that front leg. Again, trying to leave that shoulder down. And then either from here, you can reach back with that right hand from modified soldier pose, or you can start to bend that front knee, bring your weight to that front leg, bringing that back foot in, reaching for it with your right hand. And then if you like, you can take that all the way up toward the ceiling if you can. And then straighten that front leg if you can. Taking a deep breath. And releasing that all down. Stepping back into that runner's lunge. Taking both hands inside of that front foot, and then heel toeing that foot to the center, framing that front foot. And then again, either stepping that foot back and coming into child's pose, or taking a vinyasa. Your choice, go get it. And dropping those knees, and tucking the toes, sitting back, joining our friends in child's pose. Taking a few recovery breaths here. We're gonna go ahead and flip over onto our backs. Drawing those knees into our chest, rocking back and forth across that lower back. If you'd like, you can leave those knees together, take your arms out to either side, drop those knees off to one side. Or reclined spinal twist. Taking some deep, deep breaths. When you're ready, you can take one knee at a time, back to center, and then leave those knees together and drop them off to the other side of your body. Again, leaving those arms extended out to either side. Taking one knee at a time, back to center again. We're gonna go ahead and leave the left foot, or let the left foot come down to the mat, crossing that right ankle over top of the left knee, dropping the right knee down. If you'd like, you can pull that left leg in toward your chest, or recline pigeon pose. And release both feet down to the mat, taking that left ankle across the right knee, allowing the left knee to drop down. And if you like, pull that right leg in toward your chest, or reclining pigeon on the other side. When you're ready, you can go ahead and release both feet back down to the mat. We're going to leave the left foot on the mat, take the right foot up towards the ceiling, drawing that leg in towards your chest. And taking that across your body, just slightly stretching out the IT band. If you'd like, go ahead and take that all the way out to the other side, opening up inner thigh stretch here. Coming back to center, go ahead and release that foot back down to the mat, taking the left foot up toward the ceiling, pulling that in toward your chest. And taking that across your body slightly, again, getting into this IT band, connects your knee to your hip. And then taking that leg, opening it up out to the side. A stretch on the inner thigh. Drawing that back to center. Go ahead and release that foot down to the mat. This time stretching out both legs long on the mat. Allow your arms to come down to your sides. Allow your low back to soften. Allow your belly to soften. Allow those lungs to be expansive. And then we're going to take a few moments of silence here. And I'll call us back together in just a moment. When you're ready, you can start to wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Bring your awareness back into this present moment. And go ahead and roll to whichever side feels intuitively right to you. And gently push yourself up into a seated position, nice and slowly. When you're ready, you can go ahead and bring your hands either to your heart center or open on your knees if you would like. And let me close us in prayer. God, thank you that you model the way of perspective taking for us. God, that you have gifted us with the possibility of choosing to see through somebody else's eyes. Lord, when we get so wrapped up in our own stuff, would you help us to take a breath? Would you help us to come back into our bodies, to identify what we're feeling, and then to choose also to see it from another person's point of view. God, thanks for your presence with us, no matter what situation we're in or no matter what moment we're in. Would you continue to remind us of your good presence through our breath today? It's in your name we pray.
What was that one?